Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about the Ultimatum South Africa. Okay, now I've watched the Ultimatum before, but this one was extremely wild. It was extremely unhinged. I kept watching certain things and I was like, this is crazy. There is a lot to talk about. Let's start with khanyaandnkateko. Now, Khanya specifically as a person is an unhinged individual. She is not, in my opinion. Like, she comes across as extremely angry. She comes across as volatile, unable to control her emotions. She comes across as someone who is so unhinged. Like, her behavior just escalates even when there is no reason for it to. Honestly, I already knew she was going to be on some BS this season. Once I saw her interaction with the guys when they were just introducing themselves, I was like, it's okay to not be interested in people, but at least be polite. She just came across as extremely rude for no reason. It's just like, why is it going so far? And what I also thought was interesting was I did not like the dynamic between Nkateko and Khanya. It felt like Khanya was the one that is leading the relationship, which if that's what works for them, that is fine. But then it also came across as she was talking down at him and he was then having to comply. It's a different thing if someone is leading, but then there is still mutual respect. What it came across as was that she had no respect for him. She was speaking to him like he was nothing. And if you also think about her interactions with the girlies, she was also coming for the women. She's clearly not a girl's girl. And I'm just like, why are you so pressed? Like, what could have happened in your life that could turn you to become this person? It was making me feel like she must have gone through a lot of trauma because her behavior on that show was not normal. Now, Nkateko is not innocent either. Now, Khanya has all her issues and I stand by that. I remember watching her and I just felt so irritated watching her and her behavior. I was really embarrassed for her. But Nkateko in particular, when he was in his trial marriage with, I believe it's Caesar, I personally think that he was trying to use Caesar to get to Khanya. If you guys remember, he literally pulled Caesar over there to speak to Khanya, knowing fully well that Khanya was going to be all about the smoke. But I feel like he was expecting good old Miss Caesar to pipe up so that it could have been an issue between both of them. But then she didn't. It's almost like Nkateko was trying to use Caesar to fight his battles. And you have to be careful of men like that, because he is trying to cause discord between both of them. It's almost like an ego thing. Oh, they're fighting over me. I also think there's an element of you can't stand up to Khanya, so you want someone to come and stand up to Khanya on your behalf. That is what is given. And I feel like that's what happens when you're not an assertive person. You let people walk all over you. Then you try to manipulate other people to stand up for you. I feel like, in a way, Nkateko also has his mom standing up for him, but he is refusing to stand up. Like, dude, you gotta stand up for yourself. I think he's a coward. I think he needs to learn how to be assertive. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Now let's move on to Ruth and Isaac. Now Ruth is she is diabolical in my opinion. Ruth is another level of cray-cray. Now, I will say I respect Ruth to an extent, in the sense that I appreciated the fact that she was like, I'm gonna be honest about this. Now, there were parts of what she was doing which came across as manipulative. So, for instance, her going to go and speak to Lebo about it when they had already had an agreement as to how they are planning to expose the intimate relations between Ruth and Nolla. So it's like, okay, why would you go behind him to expose it? I feel like she started to pre-Nolla for who Nolla is, and then was like, do you know what? I'm not about to stand here and let this man play me. So I'm just going to come out and speak the truth. Now, I think Ruth had no respect for Isaac. I think she did what she wanted to do and had no longer any interest or commitment in that relationship. It was obvious that she did not care. Even when everything came out, if truly you are sorry for your actions, your behavior would be different. She did not care. She was even coming at Isaac. I also did like the fact that she tried to blame Isaac for her actions. The truth is, you're a grown-ass woman who did what you wanted to do. No one forced you to do what you wanted to do. So I personally think that it was extremely unfair and gaslighting for her to basically sit in Isaac's face and basically blame him for her cheating. I also think what is worse about Ruth and Isaac is the fact that they both clearly know that they're not a good fit for each other, yet they still kept dragging it on until the very end. Now, I don't know if the show had a part to play in this, but I think that it was so obvious. First of all, you know dang well, Isaac, that you are never going to be with this woman after she publicly embarrassed you. And I know that's important to you because you kept bringing up the fact that it was a public embarrassment, that she's the only girl that decided to go all the way, right? So you feel like it's some sort of public embarrassment and reflects somehow poorly on you. So of course, you're not going to take her back publicly. You know fully well that you're not going to engage her and marry her because you know you will never be able to take it when the world will see it and people will constantly be bringing it up. So I think he wasn't even being honest with himself for even staying as long as he did, in my opinion. If we shift gears to Ruth a little bit, even her apology, from her apologies, you can tell she was not really sorry. She was just like, I'ma just say that, but I ain't really sorry. I just don't want to look like a complete, total a-hole. So I'ma just say that I'm sorry for how things came out. But that girl ain't sorry. She ain't sorry. Besides, I feel like if Khanya was ready to go all the way with Isaac, Isaac would have done it himself. Let's not forget the way they were making out like they were about to rip clothes off. So I just feel like it's because him and Khanya finally realized that they were not a good fit. I think he would have still gone all the way. If Khanya had said, let's do it, he would have been right there with her. So I don't think for a second that he's innocent either. I think he was just not wanted in that way. And that was that. I feel like Tabby and Genesis are very cute together. I love how like smiley they are. But I always just feel like if you've been with someone for so long and you've not taken the next step, that means you're not convinced that this is the person that you're meant to be with, or that there are serious issues between them. And so like, I just feel like looking at the reunion, the fact that they were engaged and no longer engaged and saying they had stuff to work on, I have no doubts that they have stuff to work on, because if you guys are still dating for 7 years and it's not because you guys don't want to get married, marriage is on the table, but you guys are choosing not to jump the broom, that's because there must be some serious issues there, or one person is not convinced that this is the person for them. One or two people are not convinced. The problem with that is like, stop wasting each other's time. If you guys are not going to end up with you guys getting married, then cut it out. Now, interestingly, when Tabby was paired with Lindile, I thought like, okay, they got on all right, but I feel like Lindile was acting. I don't really believe that he was genuine. I feel like there was something about Lindile that comes across, or there is something about Lindile that comes across a bit disingenuous. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but let me know what you guys think. I just think there's something about it that doesn't feel genuine. It feels very performative. And so even with their connection, I was not really buying it. I'm like, I'm not convinced. Now, in terms of Genesis and his pairing with Courtney, I do wonder that if Courtney had been about it and so, flirtatious and a little bit more open sexually, would he have taken it further? Would he have gone further? Or would that have been the end? I don't know, because he seemed to have such an issue about the fact that she was not really as close as he wanted her to be. She wasn't letting her guard down. And what I don't know is, was that more from her? Because I know there was a physical thing that he wanted as well, that he felt like he wasn't getting from her, but also an emotional thing. I'm like, she is just your pretend spouse. Like, why are you trying to why do you want some physicality involved? So that's what I didn't understand. So I query whether part of what they need to work on are things in relation to his fidelity. Now, I don't know for a fact. This is me just querying that. If you guys have the answer, let me know. Now, sizakeleandlindile. Now, for me, there were some things that came up as red flags for me. They've only been dating for 6 months, and Ndile is bringing her to the show and gave her an ultimatum. I'm like, 6 months. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen and heard stories of people that like get married in a month, within the first 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. It is possible. But usually those sorts of things happen when both of them are sure. They seem to be into whatever it is that's going on, and they're just like, we're not wasting any time. So it usually comes across as weird if one person is trying to get married in 6 months and then the other person is not there. Because usually when those things happen fast, both people are usually on the same page. The other thing is they are quite young. So I'm just like, what is the rush? Why does it feel like everything needs to be fast-tracked? And why is it that you're not bringing her on the show as opposed to like, oh, okay, let me just wait a few months? So that was a little bit odd for me. And then when he said that he's an actor, I was like, oh, is this why he's on the show? Interesting. I also did wonder if you guys noticed a lot of times their arms would be crossed. It almost felt like there wasn't enough of a connection between them. Like the body language just seemed far away from each other. Like, for example, the Genesis and Thabi, you can tell that there is a relationship there. There's that emotional connection and intimacy. You can see it. But with Lindile and Caesar, it comes across a bit odd. Personally, I kept thinking like Lindile comes across as very disingenuous. I don't know what it is, but like I absolutely did not like it. And also I did not like the way when she was trying to talk to him at the table, she called him baby. He's like, please refrain from doing that. Like, he was just so cold and callous towards her. And I didn't like that. It was almost like his slip was showing. I don't care if we're on a show and we're meant to be dating other people. I'm still your baby. You're still my baby. Like, why are you acting like we're in acting school and it's like get into character like now, So that makes me feel like, is it because he's trying to use her and use the show for exposure and he's not really into this thing? Or is it even an arrangement between both of them? Like, it's not very clear. But I feel like I don't really trust the relationship as solid. I was not surprised when they said, oh, they're engaged and they haven't like gone through the process yet and all that kind of stuff. I'm not surprised about that, because I was not convinced that he was ready or that they were ready as a couple. I was not even convinced that they are a legitimate couple that are fully into it. Now, I feel like Caesar may be into it, but I don't think Lindile is, in my personal opinion. Even when he was giving his speech, it's like I hear the words, but I don't feel the passion. I don't feel it. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but the feeling is not there. And you guys can keep me straight if I'm wrong or whatnot. Let me know in the comment section below. But that's how I felt when I watched that. And I just thought, very, very odd. Now let's talk about Leboandnolla. Oh, this couple, They should not have been together. And like, Lebo, you're a beautiful woman. If you ever listen to this, you're a beautiful woman. Don't ever let a man take you for idiots. I feel like you were so heavily invested in this man. I feel like you're not a very confident person, or at least you don't come across as very confident. I feel like you're insecure. Now, that could be for a number of reasons, right? Nolla could have been part of the reasons why you felt this way. But I do think, baby, like, you got to work on some things for yourself. And I don't agree with the way you did it at the reunion, but I'm proud of you for taking that step to choose yourself. And I pray that you continue to choose yourself. Now, with that being said, let's break this couple down, honey. Nolla is a joke. Nolla is a manipulative, cheat, gaslighter, vindictive person. Now, let's break that down. I know I said a mouthful, but he really is. Now, if you guys remember, he was saying at the start, I got you, it's just you, I have eyes for just you. But from day one, continue the way he was talking to Ruth. Now, of course, yes, fine, they had a good connection, whatever. But the way he was talking to Ruth is like he forgot that he had a babe. He was taking it as a get out of jail free card. He's like, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do, and that's going to be all right. And I think part of it is because he really felt like Lebo was never going to leave him regardless of what he did. Because the way in which he navigated it was like someone who did not give a F. That was not someone thinking about his relationship at all. And the way after they had done, Ruth and he had done all that intimate relations, and it was still in front of his girlfriend's face, lying about it, saying, remember when she was peeping and saw them like holding hands? He was like, oh, we're not holding hands. It's like, how can you lie about something so basic like holding hands when you've been doing other things? That's crazy. Bear in mind, he knows that it is going to come out. It's only a matter of time. Yet, he did not care. He kept going on and doing whatever he wanted to do. Now, the reason I said he's vindictive is when Ruth exposed everything to Lebo, he was still denying it. And then when he realized, like, yo, I'm about to lose my babe, you are going to lose your man too. So guess what he did? He called Isaac and told him to pull up. That is someone who is vindictive. He's like, I'm not going down alone. Bear in mind, at this point, he hadn't even admitted that this happened. As soon as Isaac comes, in order to hurt Ruth, guess what he does? And I slept with your babe. You know? And he literally just says that. I'm like, that's someone who is vindictive. That's someone who refuses to stand in what they have done. They want to bring other people. They do not want to be held accountable for what they have done. Now, I will say Lebo has the greatest of I have the greatest of respect for Lebo. You know why? Because a lot of women, when that information is given to them, they get angry at the woman. They start to come for the messenger. They start to shade the messenger. But Lebo was so gracious about it. Not once did I hear her talk about Ruth in a derogatory manner. A lot of the other girls, if it was Khanya, she would have dogged Ruth from left to right. Even she wasn't involved and she found a way to dog Ruth about this whole issue. So she would have, but most women would have. But Lebo decided not to. She's like, you have nothing. You don't owe me nothing. It's my man that owes me something. And so that's who I'm going to address in the issue. And I have the greatest of respect for women that behave like that. Now, what I was sad about was when at the reunion, it came out that both of them were still together. I was like, Lebo, what are you doing? Choose yourself. Pick yourself off the floor. Why would you let this man play in your face and still take him back? Let's not forget, even at the reunion, he continued to play in her face by bigging up Ruth. Your babe is sitting right next to you after everything you've done. You're still out here bigging up Ruth, saying, oh, no offense, babe. No offense. What do you mean? It's like he couldn't even show up to the reunion and be more respectful of her and stand and be like, you know what, I made a mistake with Ruth. I'm so sorry. Now Debo and I are together and we're going strong. Instead, he still was using the opportunity to big up Ruth, which is ridiculous. So I am so glad that Lebo was like, enough is enough. I'm done. And I'm going to tell you now, I was so... Imagine people on the cast were clapping. We're excited. Like, you have to be a dog for the cast members to not even be like scared of you, to not feel any sort of shame, to be like, girl, I'm happy that you're leaving this good for nothing man. And that's what he is. He's good for nothing. And he's not ready to change because he sat in front of you at the reunion and still did the same disrespectful ish he's been doing since the season started. So I am proud of Lebo for standing up for herself and saying enough is enough. Now, I hope she never goes back to him, because if she went back to him, girl, whatever you see at this point, that is on you. That is all I had to talk to you guys about today. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post or go live. And everyone, don't forget to like, share, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.